We are Inka and Jen, and we are on a cheeky mission to rock your whiskey world.
Join us as we excitedly stick our noses into news, dram glasses, and chat with whiskey pals.
So fill your glass with the Dram On Fire and enjoy the ride.
Welcome to the Whisky Sisters podcast.
Okay, so let's welcome Sarah Dowling, Laphroaig Distillery's senior whiskey blender.
Do you pronounce it Sarah or Sarah, Inka?
Like spelled like that, I just say Sarah.
Sarah, yeah. Okay,
But I
cool.
don't know. Maybe.
No, just checking. I think you said Sarah, so that's how I was asking.
Oh, did I?
I think so.
Stick your nose in it.
So there's been a lot going on with the Uncle Nearest saga. They're basically in serious trouble, and its founder just got fired from her own company.
Oh.
Quick refresher for anyone who's not been following the case. Uncle Nearest is a Tennessee whiskey brand founded by Fawn Weaver, named after Nathan Nearest Green, the man who's widely credited with teaching Jack Daniel how to make whiskey. And it went basically from zero to one of the fastest growing whiskey brands in the US history in just a few years. But last summer, all the trouble started, and the bank that lent the company the money sued them, claiming Uncle Nearest owed over $108 million and hadn't been straight about about how much whiskey is actually they had in the barrels in the warehouse. So court agreed things were bad enough to hand control of the company over to an outside manager, a receiver, and basically pushing Weaver out of the driver's seat while the case plays out.
What a big shambles. And since then, it's been more chaos. Weaver trying to fight her way back into control by filing for bankruptcy on the company's behalf. And apparently a judge shut that down within days, saying she didn't have the authority to do it. And she also turned around and sued the bank, accusing them of trying to trash the brand's reputation. And the Weavers even sued their own former CFO, blaming him for the mess with the barrel numbers. Then, the big one, it's just come out that the receiver quietly fired Fawn and her husband Keith from the company back on the 1st of June. So the news only surfaced mid-July, and court filings say their non-stop legal battling was getting in the way of selling off the assets to keep the business alive, including blowing up a deal to sell their Martha's Vineyard property. And there are now also reports of a federal investigation into potential fraud. It sounds like a kind of dodgy movie script.
I know. It kind of just makes me also think like, what they doing with the whole vineyard thing, and there was a whole cognac thing as well, and everything is just like maybe expanding a bit too fast. But so where they stand now, the receiver is trying to sell the whole brand, including the distillery, to a mystery buyer, basically apparently investment firm with African American ownership and leadership, one that wants to preserve the brand's cultural significance. So at least that sounds a little bit,
It's not a hopeless situation. Hopefully there will be something salvaged.
But the sale still needs, as of today, the sale still needs a judge's sign off. So who knows? For me, it kind of seems that the receiver had grounds to fire them, considering they were interfering with asset sales. But it sounds more like a management dispute than a fraud related.
Yeah.
I think it's more like he said, she said situation where the blame is going in all directions, even them suing their own CFO and so on. So who is responsible for the numbers gone wrong in the first place, the casks.
So much suing, such a litigious vibe, isn't it?
I know, but it's for me, it's kind of like an American thing, isn't it? They're just suing for everything.
Yeah.
But so if you look at the wider picture, the whole shebang is part of a bigger story. If you think like what Rob said on the previous episode, the struggles with Blackened and all the other American whiskey brands facing, when it comes to distribution, and obviously oversupplied and demand has cooled. So everyone's having harder time turning barrels into actual cash. More than or what they were expecting a few years ago.
What a drama It's good news for the fans of Glenfiddich back to bonnie Scotland, as they have released a permanent whisky collection for travel retail. And the Voyager collection consists of 4 exclusive single malt expressions. It includes Warehouse 8 Solera, 12-year-old rum cask finish, 15-year-old sherry cask finish, and an 18-year-old port cask finish. Notably, the latter is the brand's first expression finished in port pipes. I'm looking forward personally to trying that one.
Yeah, me too.
All but the Solera bottled at 43% ABV, the Solera at 40. So these are created by Glenfiddich maltmaster Brian Kinsman. The Voyager collection is said to honour key moments that have redefined single malt and continue to inspire its ongoing maturation. So if you're at the airport, look out for Glenfiddichs.
Yeah, hopefully they're giving me samples as well, but I am definitely intrigued by the port, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Sarah Dowling.
So a very warm welcome, Sarah. It's so good to have you in the podcast. This Laphroaig episode has been requested by so many of our listeners over the years, so we're hugely excited to have you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. So happy to be here. Just delighted.
And we want to dive straight in, and we want to be nosy and ask you about your first memories drinking whiskey. You know, was there a moment it maybe clicked for you, and, you know, your journey to peated whiskey? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so my first memory of drinking Scotch whiskey was in Murrayfield.
Cool.
I went to university in Edinburgh, and I remember we were there and at some point during the day a hip flask was produced. And what was in the hip flask, as I now know to be 10-year-old Laphroaig, which is just hilarious because I didn't even know that peated whiskey was a thing. Like, I was a student. I'm Irish, obviously, and it's not a big part of our tradition. It's certainly not back then of peated whiskey. And I just have this memory. It's like a visceral memory of just being so shocked. I was like, what is that?
Yes.
And I can't say at the time that I liked it. It was probably a wee bit too much for me. So fast forward a few years, and my first job in the whiskey industry was working for Edrington.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing environmental management, sustainability. So, and I suppose in that kind of in the industry without much, you know, to be honest, like real knowledge about the culture and about whiskey, you just start to soak it up and get interested. So I remember the first whiskey I tried that I was like, oh yeah, I see what they're talking about. It would have been a heavily sherried Macallan, because I had a sweet tooth. And then, but that was 14 years ago. So I don't quite remember. I think it was more of maybe a slower awakening to peat.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't quite remember the moment, but it is really, really funny when you look back and you think, wow, in 14 years, now I definitely veer and gravitate much more towards the smoke and the peat and certainly the Islay malts.
Yeah.
Your tastes change, your palates change. So
definitely.
I'm like, what will it be like in 14 years? Where if I've landed on Laphroaig now, what's next?
But I love that your first sip was of Laphroaig. It just seems perfect, doesn't it, in terms of your journey? And you know, not for the faint-hearted to start off, some might say.
Absolutely. And it was my friend's dad had taken us to the rugby that day, took pity on these impoverished students. And he's been a friend of Laphroaig for years, and he just finds it so funny whenever we're still all in touch, and whenever he hears the story, I always send the link to my friend to be like, your dad's famous again. So yeah, he loves that he's been part of it. He's like, oh, I'm taking full credit for this now, Sarah.
When I started drinking whiskey, or got interested in whiskey, my husband surprised me in a trip to Islay, and because obviously everyone knows Islay whiskey with that, and he's not a whiskey drinker, so I don't think he thought about the whole peated aspect. So the first distillery that I actually ever visited was Laphroaig. Laphroaig, Lagavulin, and Pruladi.
I beg. Oh, Pruladi. Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, so at least there's a little bit of non-peat. Oh yeah, and Bonna. I went Bonnahaven as well. But
nice.
It was crazy. It was like, oh no, I really want to learn about whiskey, but I'm not sure if I like this one. And now I'm like, oh, give me it all. But it definitely takes some time for your palate to get used to it. But
I think so. And you know what? We have in our Irish whiskey portfolio, we have a Connemara, which is Connemara single malt, but it's up until recently was the only Irish peated single malt. And it's a really delicate peat smoke. It's like a wisp of smoke. I always think
Nice.
about a wisp of smoke. And it was really that kind of, I think of that as like my gentle stepping stone almost. Like I love that whiskey, and that's your gentle stepping stone to the Isle of malts. So yeah, I think that maybe eased me into it a wee bit.
You used to work in Ireland, so what would you say is the biggest kind of mental shift moving from Irish whiskey to Islay whiskies? Because they are quite different in style usually.
They're quite different, yeah. I mean, I've been so lucky, I've moved between Scotch and Irish pretty much throughout my career. So I love that I can appreciate the differences and also the similarities in that way. So I think having that Connemara in the middle, you meet in the middle somewhere. But it's been lovely. It's so lovely how exciting the Irish whiskey world is at the moment. It's been so many new releases. So it's great to feel like you're part of that as well.
Brilliant. In terms of your kind of daily role, Sarah, can you tell us a bit, about that, and maybe, how you can tell the difference between a cask that maybe needs a little bit more time, or one that you're kind of not feeling at the current time, that you don't feel it's going where you want to go? If you can help us understand a bit more about your role, that would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. There is no day is the same as a whiskey maker, and that's what I love about it. And you get to be involved just on a very meta level across the entire business. You might be talking about working with brand house one day, and you might be talking more like financials and cogs and different things. You're talking also you're talking a lot more about the day-to-day distillery, kind of what's happening. So it's a lot of nosing and it's a lot of sampling. So we're in our team, we nose new make spirit kind of every batch of new make spirit comes through our office, and we're nosing every single one and comparing it to our kind of keystone, our standard. Then we've got our maturing inventory, which is vast. So you're sampling, you're looking after your wood policy, you're working with brand houses to think about new innovations or recipe changes or improvements or everything like that. And then we're also doing a lot of, we're all quite technical people in the blending lab. There's three of us, myself, Callum and Diane, and we all are scientists really at the end of the day. So there's a lot of kind of research and kind of technical sampling that we're doing to just help build our knowledge of our stock system and portfolio. When it comes to finding a cask that's not quite ready, the way I kind of think about it is there's no one approach that you use. You have to be quite considered, and kind of in the moment you might be taking all of the data that you have into consideration, and you might say, okay, well, maybe the balance isn't there in this cask, or you might maybe over a longer period of time just resample and see how the evolution is going. Or sometimes you might get a cask sample and you're kind of you might say to yourself, well, for the amount of time it's been in this cask, more time isn't going to fundamentally change it or improve it. So then you might think about recasking or something like that. So yeah, there's no real one. I wish I could tell you there's a silver bullet, but there's not. What I will say is I've been so lucky in my career. I've gotten to, learn from what I consider some of the best in the business. So Shinji, our chief blender for Suntory, is an incredible source of wisdom and knowledge. And Callum Fraser is our master blender across Scotch and Irish. So they've been great role models for me. But I've also been given throughout my career this really gorgeous gift of just time to build up a repertoire and build up, my own knowledge and, your own experience. So no one approach, but it is definitely never a dull moment.
Yeah, but that's good. Makes it much more interesting and enjoyable. Surely that's not the same all the time. Laphroaig has very distinctive flavor. So how much room do you actually have to experiment before something stops tasting like Laphroaig?
Wow, yes. So Laphroaig is definitely distinct. That's one thing I will say. We have such an iconic signature style, and it is loved globally.
Yeah.
So you have to be, you have to kind of make sure you're being true to that as well. We always think of the tenets I always think about are, you've got your beautiful smoke, you've got a hint of surprising sweetness, and you've got that little hint of salt as well. So smoke, salty, sweet for me. And then kind of how you balance that is always the challenge and what you kind of lean on more. But what I will say is we have some great examples in our range where we can be really innovative. So I always think of Cairdeas that's our favorite in the blending lab kind of project to work on in a year, because it's a release one a year. We're on our 18th year this year, and it's always something different. It might be a different cask finish, or it might be a cask strength of something people love, or something just completely different. So it's a chance for us to get quite creative in the blending lab. So this year we did a fully matured in French oak, which was quite different, like really quite different. It's a little bit of a different change for us, and people have really, really loved it and responded to it. So in that one, I get a lot of like melon, like honeydew melon.
Oh, nice.
And some peach notes. And you get a lot of like really like deep, like it's that balance between quite light and refreshing, and then like a depth of flavor, which is lovely. So that's a fun one to get to innovate on. And I mean, there's pressure because people look forward to Cairdeas every year, and they might come to Ireland with the expectation that it's going to be great. Elements, I don't know if you know about the Elements range. So we've released 3 of them where we kind of use the distillery to be where we innovate. So Elements 3, we call it the happy accident. So a fire in the kiln burnt a little bit hotter and a little bit longer than it should have, or than it normally would. So it's given its real toasty notes to the liquid. Brilliant. Or to the spirit, like chocolate, coffee. So that's it. You kind of use your casks to innovate. You use your distillation, working with our partners in distillation, and then I always think about the ages of Laphroaig. So as you work through kind of the age range, I feel like Laphroaig has this really typical maturation arc where I think of 10-year-old Laphroaig as being like peaked. It's when it's at its smokiest. It's hard to say. Yeah. When it's at its smokiest. And then as the age continues, I wouldn't say the peak necessarily subsides, but these other elements these other characteristics start to maybe fight a little bit better, fight a little bit stronger. So you might maybe start to see, there's really, really gorgeous like charred pineapple notes. There's notes of like, I call them like minty, like really, really minty menthol that you might find in casks. And then there's a really interesting smoked ham note that starts to come through. So you kind of do have this, like, we can innovate with age really in a really, really profound way, I think, with Laphroaig.
And is there, thinking about all, you've mentioned balance and all those different delicious flavours, is there anything you do to protect or like calibrate your palate? Like, is there like food you avoid or things you always eat or whatever before you do your nosing and tasting?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, actually. I
do
think
you?
I get. I would say it's something that like we're aware of in our team, and like I'm certainly aware of, but we try not to let it overwhelm our whole lives. Do you know? So you still have to live, right? So probably one of the things we don't wear perfumes or aftershaves or strong fragrances into our work. And that's kind of an unwritten rule. Like, no one ever told me not to. But when somebody comes into the room with a strong fragrance on, you notice it. Do you know? We try and keep it quite neutral. So just from keeping the environment quite neutral, from a day to day, I mean, I get through a lot of samples on a daily, weekly basis. So I kind of know at what point my nose is kind of exhausted. Like, you kind of start to know that.
Nose blind.
You get, absolutely. You're just kind of like, you're like, oh my goodness. So I know when to say, right, okay, I'll only line up a certain amount of samples. I'll take breaks. I'll walk away. I'll move between different spirit types to make sure that it's not just, I don't get fatigued.
Okay.
And then I also use watch glasses. I will set up some samples, cover them, and I could be going back to them for over a day, over maybe 2 days. Do you know, so people walk into our blending lab sometimes and they think, geez, oh, you're so messy. You need to put away your glasses. But we're like, no, they're all important. We need them all. So yeah, I would say like probably how I would summarize it is, coffee is important to function, but we won't have a coffee machine in the blending lab. Maybe that's
Yeah.
yeah. How about you
Yeah.
guys? Because you probably have that similar as well in your, because you're
Well,
going through quite a lot of different samples. I know, like you could be working through, around 10 or, on the podcast
I
alone. How do you do it?
I was gonna say, because like Jen is known to drink some Diet Coke sometimes while she's sampling, but I just think like your palate must be like so good because you're still like getting so much through. Unless like Diet Coke is a secret palate cleanser, but I think if I would have Coke,
I
I would
know.
be like, oh my God.
Probably not to be recommended. I don't know if it's just because I've always done it, but it kind of doesn't feel right otherwise. I think we both tend to like not have big meals before we record
Yeah.
and have our food kind of later. But I'm a fan of a snack always, so I can't say that
Yeah.
I'm avoiding the crisps and nuts and stuff before I
Yeah.
record. So I think
Yeah.
I'm a bit fast and loose with a routine.
Also, like lots of water, smelling your hand.
Yeah.
I was doing some judging for the International Wine and Spirits competition earlier this year. So they had those crackers between.
Mhm.
But like I was dying for a coffee, but I didn't have coffee all day, and because I thought like if I have a coffee, it probably ruins my palate. But I was dying. I really needed some caffeine.
It's tricky because then some people say that nosing coffee grounds neutralizes your nose. I've never really kind of gotten that. I get like smelling yourself, like smelling your arm or it neutralizes. But yeah, there's so many tips and tricks out there. But I think I don't know how you do. I've heard about those days. I've never done the judging, and I've heard about those days where it is like really fatiguing. I think I would probably be like, I'm not good at this.
It's so fast paced as well. I think I did 77 samples in a day, so it was a lot. But I guess obviously
That's a
you're
lot.
spitting it out when we're tasting stuff with Whisky Sisters. I'm at least me. I'm always drinking
you're
everything.
drinking.
So we've actually got some Laphroaig samples as well, but they just kind of delayed. So we will.
Yeah, did your bag arrive? In the end?
No, still not. Yeah, it's been stressful. I should maybe get it on the 24th, but Jen has sent me new samples, so hopefully I'm hoping that those samples will arrive this week so we can actually sample this weekend.
I feel like this is probably where you're like, oh my God, we're interviewing a super fan of the podcast. I'm like, did your bag arrive? Sorry.
No, love it.
No, it's just, I'm worried for the whiskies.
I know.
That's my
hopefully.
whiskey.
Yeah.
It is hard. Actually, one of the things is you end up, if you travel with work, you end up bringing, you might be bringing samples or bottles to people, or if I travel home for the weekends. And so I feel like I've not mastered the art because I don't want to, but of packing whiskey so it doesn't break. But it's hard in your.
Yeah. One more question about the blending process of whiskey making. What is something, or can you think of anything that would genuinely surprise our listeners? Something even, whiskey enthusiasts wouldn't necessarily think about, what it entails, or I don't know if is it too difficult of a question.
That's a good
Always trying to look
one.
for some so like little secrets or things that you don't necessarily read about.
I think, well, whiskey makers generally are the best secret keepers in the business. But what first comes to my mind is I'm not sure how much people know, like quite how much care we put into kind of what we're, what like the whiskey we're producing. And I'm trying to think of some appropriate examples, but for the Willem one, for example, the Willem by Willem, our limited release with Willem Dafoe, we sample that, we're involved in every aspect, but particularly when it was in the finishing casks, in the Oloroso casks, I had samples every month. I was sampling those casks. So you kind of end up, you almost know them by name. You're like, oh, how's number 71 doing? So I think that's an example at, that level where we really do. It's not something that we can, we go probably over and above. Another example would be, Laphroaig Strong Characters. It's 35 years old. So, I mean, when you're talking about 35-year-old Laphroaig, we don't have that many casks. So we're sampling every single cask. And then almost before anything is decanted, like I'm building that blend up, that's not a blend because it's a single malt, but it's a blend of different casks, right? And you're building it up on the desk, on the bench, like you're kind of blending it together at that point. So you're making sure that every cask individually is great, but that it also marries together really beautifully in the vat.
Yeah.
So I don't think people maybe appreciate that it's that quite that level. But also, I think I need to add to that, when you're kind of working at that level, you're gathering a lot of data and you need to collect it somewhere. So maybe the actual answer here is, you would be surprised how many spreadsheets and pivot tables are involved in whiskey blending, whiskey making. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very intense actually. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect, Kiki. Taking
Yeah.
notes. Spreadsheet. I love like notebooks. I wish like,
Yeah.
you know, I guess you can't do when you're blending just like notebooks anymore because then no one can read your notes or.
Yeah, well, yeah, we do have some notebooks, but really kind of how you kind of, yeah, take over that level of data, like
Yeah.
that's where spreadsheets come into their own. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm constantly, a new formula gets us very excited in the blending lab.
I think was it Tomatin maybe? In their warehouse they had like this whole like a little blending room and there's all sorts of carvings on the wall where they used to mark different notes and things
Oh,
Yeah,
from there. So that's quite
100%. And like, yeah,
different
there's a
perspective.
kind of, yeah, it's almost like that code system of like, so I talk about having glasses on the desk, on the bench. You might have your watch glasses and the bottle behind it. And then we all have like, you might turn a bottle bit to the side because you're trying to indicate something, or you might pull a glass out. So sometimes I might have like what Callum's working on and be like, what's he trying to tell me with the twisted glasses, the glasses pulled out. So yeah, it's a wee bit, that's not covered on the spreadsheets either.
So a nice blend of sort of, your own innate wisdom and intuition and
Yeah.
teamwork, but all the science and data
Mm,
kind of combined.
absolutely. Yeah. That sums it up.
How did you realize that you have like amazing nose and palate for this kind of work?
So I told you started working in Edrington,
Yeah.
in an environmental role. It was, and that was a career path actually. And I remember like I got a little tour around I was working in Great Western Road in Glasgow, and I got the tour around the site on, I think, day one. The person who gave me the tour mentioned that there is a whiskey maker on site who runs a sensory panel, and she'll test your nose.
Oh, cool.
For you, if you're interested, and if you have a good enough nose, you could be on the sensory panel. And the scientist in me immediately was like, "There's a test for that. You can
Yeah.
you can get data on that." Which makes sense because you could test your eyes and your hearing, but I hadn't thought about the nose. Like, I look back and I think, oh my God, but day 2 in my job, I was on a 15-month contract. Like, I wasn't going to be there forever. I was knocking on the door of Kirsteen Campbell's office. He's like master blender from Macallan there, and said, could I sit that test, please?
Good
Not
for
that I wanted
you.
to be a blender, but I needed to know. And it turns out I have quite a good nose. I think it's something you kind of make sense in once you know that. It makes sense how,
Yeah.
weird you might be about food and stuff growing up. But so yeah, so I was always, that was kind of for me, like I was always on the sensory panel there. I had to kind of play it cool because I remember the first time I got the email, like come to the, mass email sent out to the panel members and come to the lab. I was like, we must get there quick. And I was like running across the office. I realize now I run panels, and sometimes it can be hard to get people to join, to leave their spreadsheets and leave their, not blenders, but if people are all across the business. So yeah, a passion for me was really sparked by getting to kind of be in the blending lab and just contribute to the sensory panel. But I never ever, even sometimes, even now, sometimes I'm like, I didn't think there would be a job in it for me. It didn't seem like it was something that was in any way feasible. And then just slowly over time, opportunities came up, and you're encouraged into different roles, and you're encouraged to explore it. So, but I think if you'd asked me 14 years ago, I don't think I would have said that this would be where I would be.
Well, it sounds to me like it's been in your destiny, hence the Laphroaig at Murrayfield, and day
true.
2.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Absolutely. And I love it now. Like, whenever people are super keen to get on a panel, I'm like, I was you, and like,
Yeah.
come on in and we'll set the test. And I still get nervous when we sometimes do resit that test every now and again just to calibrate with each other. The vial test where you kind of, I think he knows 20 different things, and I'm still like, oh God, what will I pass? And I'm like, Sarah, get over yourself. Of course you're going to pass.
Unleash the Pete.
Do you have a personal favourite Laphroaig release?
That is like asking. I'm really emotional, so I get such emotional attachments to whiskey sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like, there's
too
some
difficult. Yeah.
exactly, and there's some bottles that I'm like, I can't even open that yet. It's too good. You know. So I
Favorite
do.
at the
So
moment, maybe.
favorite, well, for me, always Laphroaig 18-year-old. I just think that's just a perfect moment in time. To be honest. I just think that's where, like, I think the smoke is almost behind, like it's starting to open up, and you see those tropical notes and those minty notes. I love Laphroaig 18, but then, like, for me, the release with Willem, aside from it being an amazing whiskey, and aside from getting to meet and work with Willem Dafoe, like, it is a special moment in time, that project, because the team working behind it was just class. Like, everyone was really like rowing in the same direction, which was just so nice to be. It was so special. And then getting the feedback, and like our friends at Laphroaig and our consumers love it, and the world is talking about it. It's really quite a special moment. And then another one, I suppose, part aspect of the job that I love, like, we get to we pick all the casks for our VCs, like the bottle your own casks and your experience casks, and that's a really fun part of the job, because you can be really, you sample really widely, and you get to find these little hidden gems, and they'll be kind of distillery bottle your owns. So last year we did 2 sister quarter casks, for example. So we released them at the same time, a first fill quarter cask and a second fill, but like similar age, similar maturation location. So that was a fun one to release, because people then got to, like, you could buy them individually, choose your favorite, or you could buy both and maybe explore maturation dynamics yourself. So that aspect of the job is lovely, but you do end up being, really quite attached to them all.
Yeah. What's the funniest or strangest tasting note that you've heard about Laphroaig? Because I remember there was a campaign where they got people saying stuff. Well, it was quite fun.
That is so fun. Yeah. So I feel like I'm really traditional with my tasting notes. Like, when I'm writing on for the bottle, I can be, I wouldn't say boring, but I could be a bit traditional.
Yeah, more traditional.
Yeah, so I love, like, when I get to go to Facial, or you do a tasting, or maybe you're reading about stuff online, and people's really wild and wacky, off the wall. It's so funny, and it's really quite inspiring sometimes, because I might be at Facial doing a tasting, and someone has a tasting note, and I'm like, I need to write that down. And then in Willem, in that Friends of Laphroaig campaign, and then in the taste that the film that Willem released, we kind of explore that a wee bit more. So there's stuff like kissing a mermaid on a salty sea, or there's like, it's like growing a beard in your throat, which I just find that so funny.
Oh,
But
that's
I
so
would
funny.
never. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I need to be better. I need to be a little bit more creative here.
That's brilliant. Congratulations on that collaboration with Willem
Thank
Dafoe.
you.
It's been
I like that one as well.
yeah, really cool to watch it all unfold.
Thank you.
We wondered how involved, or maybe not, that he was in choosing the spirit, what it was like to work that closely with him, if he was.
Do you know what? He was really involved and really engaged in the process, enthusiastic. So it started like well over a year ago. Willem was really, really keen when we started the collaboration to really get to know. He's loved Laphroaig for a long time. He's been a fan for years, but he was like, if I'm gonna be talking about it, I want to know more as much as possible. So we had this wonderful tasting together early last year, and I brought 6 pilots with him, which was just to try with him together, which was more about kind of, we see a lot of nuances in distillery character, and so we were exploring smoke levels and different cask types, and different ages, that sort of thing, just to kind of give him, like, this is what we see in the blending lab effectively, and this is what we see, to get to know the Laphroaig at that level, I suppose. So I was really like impressed and delighted. He just gave it so much time and space to really sit and go through and ask questions and give opinions. And he was like sharing stories about like when he's kind of discovered Laphroaig or, different places around the world he drank Laphroaig, and people have such strong opinions, and bartenders always have, such great opinions and tasting notes themselves about Laphroaig. So that was really lovely. So we had this wonderful tasting where we kind of talked through all the different kind of character nuances, I suppose. And there was one in particular, as soon as he tried it, you can just tell sometimes that something really resonates with them. And it was that he was like, this makes me feel like this in my face. And so that was kind of, it was pretty clear that was his favorite. And that was the one that had this Oloroso direction on it. So then I would kind of go back then to the blending lab, kind of take that and say, right, okay, so what can we do with this, and how can we take it in that in more in that direction? And I met him a few times throughout that year, or we were like sending samples to him, or at different occasions where I'd be like, right, okay, so this is the base spirit now that we're going to put into the Oloroso casks, and this is a couple of months in, and it was really lovely we're nearly there, to kind of get his impressions as we go along and his thoughts and feedback. And he was so excited, and his team was so excited as well, which is really lovely. Like there was always great excitement when the whiskey maker came down with a sample from the lab. So, and I get so excited about whiskey, so I think we just like buzzed off each other a wee bit in that way.
That's very cool. That level of involvement and his like longer term passion, and complementary to what you were saying early. Like there's a lot of care, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot that goes behind, and it seems like he's really complemented that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was, I think he gets it. Like he gets that is kind of that's for whiskey making, I suppose, that it's and it's a long term, and it's not going to be instant. So he really understands the concept of these are pilot blends. This is nowhere near the finished product, and we'll take the time to make it right, I suppose.
Seems like a nice collaboration anyway, because I'm not like massively into all the famous people getting involved, because there's a lot of people who probably don't actually have any input whatsoever. But I like the whole campaign, the kind of artsy style, and it sounds like he was super involved anyway, so it just makes it much more fun and interesting.
I think so. I think like Willem is such a bold character himself, and he is like this kind of almost a chameleon in his work. So I get the impression that it was really important to him that if we're going to do it, we do it. We have this, that he's involved, and he comes away from it, with this, I suppose, extra knowledge about whiskey. Like he's quite a curious guy in so many ways. Yeah. And it was definitely really important from the whiskey making side and from the brand side that it's a right fit.
I wonder how it came about. Like, how does someone think like, oh yeah, let's ask him, or did he ask you guys because he likes Laphroaig, or like, because it doesn't seem like I don't know. It's just like who came up with it. I don't know if you know.
I don't know. All I know is I got taken into a room and told that, that kind of way, that it's like, this is
top secret.
So it wouldn't be my department. I'm in the blending lab on my pivot tables. So
So if you're not drinking Laphroaig, what other whiskies do you reach for?
If I'm not drinking Laphroaig, so Connemara Distillers Edition. I don't know if you know Connemara. I think Irish whiskey might be a whole other podcast to discuss. But Connemara Distillers Edition, it's really only available in France and GTR and in Ireland, but it has a sherry cask influence. So it's got my love of peat, my love of sherry. I think it's a really, really beautiful expression.
I'd be keen to try that, actually.
Yeah, it is nice. It's really special. I really like Highland Park 12 at the moment. I have a bottle of that on the go. I just feel like it's a really nice, almost like a summer. There's a lot of melon notes there as well for me, a lot of peach notes. So I really like that. I was in Kentucky last month. I feel like I've developed a really interesting appreciation of bourbon now. I've always been a bourbon cocktail. I love a bourbon whiskey sour. But I was in Maker's Mark in June, and I feel like I was sitting there with a neat bourbon in the Kentucky sunshine that day, and I was thinking, okay, this is a whole other journey. But I was listening to your episode on Swift Distilleries, and I've never tried that, so I'm kind of inspired now that I want to try. I want to have a try of that. But I think actually, do you know what? I also am such an advocate of cocktails, whiskey in a cocktail.
Yeah.
Like for me, I love Friday evening. For me, is like a dream Friday evening. I don't get to do it that often, but head to one of Glasgow's iconic whiskey bar or cocktail bars, and like the Laphroaig does a really good like smoky espresso martini, or just kind of have a cocktail, unwind from the week. I just think it's a really nice part of your life if you can indulge every now and again.
I made popcorn Negroni with Laphroaig a while ago, and it was so good. But yeah,
gorgeous.
Definitely cocktails.
Yeah, love that.
So we know what whiskey you'll be reaching for. We know what like your emotional attachment to Laphroaig, but you've maybe been asked this many times before, but is there a famous person, dead or alive, your dream dram that you would share a dram with? And, you know, would it be a Laphroaig or something else?
I know you asked this question because I'm a fan. So I've been kind of like mulling over it. I'm like, who would it be? So I don't know if you know her, but there's an Irish comedian called Joanne McNally. I think she's so funny, and I would just love to have a drink with her. So I would use this if I'm getting a celebrity, I'm going to try and become best friends with Joanne McNally. I'm going to use it to my advantage.
That's it. Get all the crack.
Exactly. I just think she's really just, I like, you know, she's a Whisky Sisters type of woman, I think, because she's really sharp, really quick-witted. I think she would be just a really interesting person to while away a few hours with. I don't think I've never seen that she's a whiskey fan. So I would say we would maybe start with a cocktail, maybe like a Laphroaig Old Fashioned or something like that. And, or maybe a whiskey sour actually. Then maybe try and see how she likes the Willem by Willem limited release.
Fantastic. But, this is a formal invitation that you're now, now casting out on the airwaves.
Exactly, yeah, manifesting.
I know, I need to like tag her on all the...
Exactly. But do you know what another option would be, and I feel like I know you guys are big Metallica fans, I would have said Taylor Swift, but I was like, they won't want to be my pal.
No, we love everybody's taste in music. Good for and she's so popular, right?
I just think she's so impressive, yeah.
Yeah, and like she's a phenomenon, isn't she? Like so many people of different backgrounds and ages all love Taylor Swift, so you can't argue with that.
She's like writing her own songs and playing an instrument, because these days not people do that.
Absolutely.
But I do like one of her songs, "Cruel Summer." I play it at the gym when I need to do bicycle like super fast, and normally I play it twice. Twice in a row, and I'm like going really fast. That's the only time I listen to it.
Yeah, you can't be listening to Metallica, I don't think, on a bike. I feel like that's just too much intensity. You need
But I think Taylor Swift, she seems quite like ballsy, for want of a better description. Like she fought to get the rights of her music, or she re-recorded it. Am I getting mixed up with someone else, or did she do all that?
I think she did all that. Yeah, she kind of lost it, and then she re-recorded and then got it back. So yeah, I think
full respect.
She's a good Laphroaig woman, I think. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to sample these whiskeys.
Well, you'll hear on the I know.
You can listen what we say. No, I'm very excited. A little bit scared for Jen because she's still getting used to Pete, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. But
I know how you feel. I know how you feel, Jen.
Because I was sorting the samples and like the aromas were coming up, and I was like, oh, I'll need to brace myself for these. But like I'm quite excited because I've really enjoyed some peated whiskies as the years of being in Whisky Sisters has gone on. So although it's not my go-to, I'm beyond the peat curious stage and know that I can really enjoy them. So yeah, I'm excited to try.
But it's good to have a discussion and a conversation about it as well. It's nice. I do like that you guys will be like, oh no, I don't really like this. Oh, I do. Do you know? Or I like that it's quite authentic, because that's the conversations we'll have in our whiskey making team as well.
Yeah.
You know, where everyone's opinion is very much encouraged and welcomed. So
how it might change, as you say, or develop or whatever over time, or different circumstances, different company, different snacks.
Yeah, even different day. Exactly, different time of the day. Totally.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing amazing work, Sarah. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me.
Dram on Fire.
So, the suitcase is still not arrived.
What the fuck? Do you know
So
Mercury's been in retrograde? The planets are all fucked up until today. So I think after today, your life will go more smoothly.
yeah, they sent us all the documents and eventually called us and said, okay, we'll bring it. But then they haven't contacted us since then. So, but my husband is going to airport to pick up my goddaughter. So he's going to go and see if he can pick it up. But
Fucking
it's
nuts,
it's
isn't it?
honestly been like a month, but at least your samples arrived.
Yeah, that's good.
I realized that these samples, I don't know why I was thinking that we had that Willem sample, but we don't. Ooh.
Ah, right. You thought
It's a
we'd
little bit
another
of a
one that
bummer.
we don't. Okay.
Yeah, but it's fine. These are all good. So we've got the Laphroaig 10-year-old, 15-year-old, which is new. And then, okay, I don't know how to say this next one because she said it really well.
Yeah, I didn't pay too much
Sarah.
attention to the pronunciation. It looks like Cairdeas, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe we'll just go with that and then.
Typically pronounced Cairdeas or just Cairdeas. In English,
Càirdeas.
Cairdeas.
Okay.
Cairdeas. Okay.
So yeah, let's start with the Laphroaig 10,
Yeah.
which is 40% ABV, fully matured in bourbon barrels, just to kind of really highlight the distillery character. I don't know if I'm remembering this wrong, but I was certain that it used to be 43% ABV.
Ah, really? I wonder if it was. We should Google that and check.
Yeah, but this one's definitely 40.
Yes.
How did you get on with the samples?
Right, disclaimer first. It was late at night and I'd just had a cup of tea and some biscuits. So I don't know if that affected my palate. Nevertheless, I got quite a sweet nose initially, bit like I was in a old-fashioned sweet shop. Maybe some distant bonfire smoke, but I wasn't blown away in the nose. But I thought, oh, quite pleasant, not crazy smoky, and a little bit sweet.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's been so long since I had Laphroaig 10.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of remembered in my head that it tastes different.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I didn't used to like it as much or didn't used to like peat so much. But yeah, the nose was it was surprisingly sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting peach. But then there was a bit more like antiseptic, seaweed kind of beach walk stuff. Then I was getting wet dog and like
Oh.
a old dish rag.
Oh.
You know, when they start a bit smelly.
Mm-hmm.
Some nuttiness and a bit of rubber.
But you got
But like,
loads in the nose. I felt I was like, I wasn't under-inspired, but I was just like, yeah, like a bit Veggie Vagerson.
I say, yeah, I do think that it took a while. I was like, had to kind of focus on it because it was so much more mellow
Yes.
than I was
Yeah,
expecting.
good word.
And maybe, I don't know, that could even just be the percentage change that what I recalled before. I don't know. And how about the palate?
Charred peppers as if barbecued, bacon fries, crisps, maybe like a teriyaki tangy sauce. And, gammon, like big ham cooked in Coca-Cola.
Oh,
So quite sweetish.
nice. Ah, yeah. I think initially, definitely, there was like sweetness to it and it felt quite soft on the palate. But then I was getting that medicinal smoke and bit of brininess, seafoody vibes, kind of sea saltiness, like that kind of, I don't know, on a shell of seafood or something like that.
Yeah.
Pepperiness. And then on the finish, I was getting tea leaves and maybe like dried rose hip or something like that.
Oh, nice. I just got tangy-ish on the finish.
But like I actually enjoyed it much more than I thought, like I remembered from before. I don't know.
I actually was
Okay.
thinking having a sip of it for somebody like wanting to try PT. Do you know, they might think, oh, Laphroaig, like super crazy. That'll be too hardcore for me. And I remember thinking last night when I was sampling, that would probably be a nice entry to Isla Drams.
Yeah, I didn't find it like even the medicinal smoke that I was getting in the palate, it wasn't like bad. Like it wasn't too kind of overpowering. So yeah, no, I liked it.
Yeah, me too. I enjoyed it. I hope that this is recording okay, because sometimes to me you sound like a underwater robot Inka. But I think
really?
it might just be my connection, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. But yeah, I don't know. It always says poor connection detected here. I don't know why. Like
Yeah, me
anywhere, like
too.
when we're recording.
Anywhere. Yeah,
I
anywhere.
know. Like it doesn't matter where we are. Ali to always says poor connection.
Yeah.
I actually have like that, super duper internet. The Elon Musk,
Yeah,
that it
Starlink.
detects all the So that's like super duper. It should work fine. But who knows? Okay, let's go to the next one. So the Laphroaig 15 has recently returned to their core range after 10-year absence, and this one is bottled at 4 to 6% ABV.
Welcome back, 15. On the nose, lemon rind and black pepper, like a kind of watery, not watery, sorry, a watercress pepperiness on the nose, and maybe like charred charcoaly embers.
I was getting dried grass, and
Okay.
again, it was surprisingly mellow.
Mm-hmm.
There was some like sweet citrus and made me think of like lemon cake
Mm-hmm.
or like citrusy sweets, like, I don't know, like a lemony boiled sweets or
Yeah.
grapefruit or something. Some vanilla, which again goes back to the cake maybe, and a little hint of wet dog.
Oh, again with the wet dog.
I know, maybe because I'm surrounded by two stinky dogs all the time.
On the palate, I found it distinctly different from the 10. I found it kind of licoricey, aniseedy, maybe like fennel, and also like dustiness, just, as if I was tasting a dusty, musty room.
Yeah, I thought it was quite different as well from the 10. I was getting sour red berries,
Mm-hmm.
or that kind of more maybe acidic berries, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Warming spice, ginger, subtle caramel, much stronger peat, kind of saltiness, and green chilies. That kind of.
I'm not so mad personally on aniseedy, fennelly, licoricey note, so I didn't vibe with the 15 as much, my personal palate.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't really get that licorice so much. On the finish, it was ashy, peppery, and warming.
Did you
I
enjoy
quite
it?
like that. Yeah, I did actually. I think maybe more than the 10 overall.
Whisky Sisters!
The next one was very different.
Yes.
So how do we say this? Cairdeas?
Cairdeas.
Cairdeas? So difficult.
Cairdeas.
So this one,
French oak, right?
Yes, this year's release is French oak, 100% matured in French oak, and it's cask strength, so 52.6% ABV.
Ooh la la, not scrimping on the strengths.
So, nose.
The nose was super duper different for me on this one. I was having fantasies of big sizzling sausages, like I don't really like pork sausages, but maybe pork and apple, like done on a barbecue. Then I was thinking pork crackling, maybe smoky bacon. And then again, a wee, not dusty, more musty this time, like on the nose, bit of antique shop. You know how they smell a bit kind of funky?
Yeah. I was getting dried apricot and some dried herbs.
Mm-hmm.
And then leather, but then it was more like sweet.
Oh,
How do you
yeah.
say?
Suede. Suede.
And then suede. Yeah,
I
that
say
kind of
suede.
leather. Yeah, made me think of like new moccasins or something.
Or as you would say in Mull, moccasins.
Yeah. You know what I mean, that kind of leather, the hairy stuff. Then I was getting some cloudberries and some sort of marinade for meat. And that was quite funny because you said that pork and the apple, so it may be like something similar in that way. And then maybe hint of that, the orange melon. Which one is that? I always get confused. Is that cantaloupe? Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that and a vanilla latte.
Oh, it was quite intriguing on the nose.
Yeah, I liked it. And some saltiness as well in there. Definitely some sea salt or something, sea vibes.
Overall, quite sweet on the palate, maybe like a poached pears, not sickly sweet, but just essences of kind of nice sweet tones, barbecued fruit, maybe like peaches. And I found it really creamy, mascarpone cheese creaminess.
Ah, yeah, there was definitely. I had like a coffee mocha, or like a creamy, like maybe even like cappuccino that with the chocolate bits on the top.
Nice. Yeah,
Like
good
that
shout.
kind of like the foaminess of the coffee and the
nice
chocolate. But I find it more like lighter and elegant on the palate compared to the other two.
Nice.
And then I wrote selfish with touch of lemon and dill and maybe some caraway or something.
Oh,
Yeah, it was really nice. And yeah, a little bit of that kind of umami saltiness, salty licorice. And on the finish, there was a bit more the medicinal peat coming through. And again, that's subtle melon. And even the medicinal peat was much more mellow. Like you could tell that it's Laphroaig, but it was still quite different.
your tasting notes are trashy in keeping with the French oak. Mine a bit less so. I've got sour sweets on the finish.
Yeah, it's funny. It's quite different. But there is quite like different palettes that gets different things from the peat. You know how we were talking with
Yes.
what's his name from Laphroaig about the different levels of peat and how different palettes detect the more of the
Yeah.
the stronger the smoke, or someone gets more of the sweet stuff. It's quite funny. But I really like the French oak.
Me too. It was my
That was
favourite of the three.
Yeah, definitely. And I enjoyed this much more than the one that they did last year, which was really I enjoyed the last year's one, but it was much more punchier and like more it was giving me loads of finis notes, like really like salty,
Mm-hmm.
dark licorice and all these kind of really strange heavy notes. This one was much more lighter and nice for the summer, I think.
And I like, the descriptor elegant for it. I think that's super fitting. So that would be my first choice, the Laphroaig 10, number 2, and the 15 in third position from Jen.
So yeah, French oak 15, 10 for me. I feel like you didn't hate it then.
No,
obviously.
not at all.
Like, because I was
No.
just worried. I was thinking, if it would be too medicinal, but it's not. It really wasn't.
No, really wasn't at all. No, definitely not. Oh, and you know how Sarah was talking about Connemara whiskey?
Yeah.
I was reading my book last night by an Irish author, and the detectives in it were sipping drams of Connemara and they were describing the smokiness. So I thought, made me think of Sarah. And that made me quite curious. I'd be quite keen to try Connemara as well now, me being a bit more free and easy and gallus with the peaty whiskies.
Yeah, definitely. Need to give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
Need to see if it's in a pub somewhere, like, for example. You know the sensory test that we talked about earlier with
Yes.
Sarah? So we are gonna see if we can make it happen.
Oh,
and then we just need
so
to figure
cool.
out. So yeah, she's already spoken to the team and they are gonna try to see how we could do it. And then we need to figure out how we can bring it to the podcast or whatever. Maybe we'll do an Instagram live or something. But I'm already nervous now. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I'm excited because I'm comfortable with the fact that I might be very, very crap at it, but I'll have a great fun time giving it a go, giving it the sniff test.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's cool.
But I think that should be fun.
You've been listening to the Whisky Sisters podcast.
That's it for today. Everyone who is Laphroaig fan or not a fan, whatever, let us know your thoughts on the whiskies and if you have any favorites or why you like them or why you don't. I always like to hear because I think Laphroaig splits opinions.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's been a hectic summer so far and it's about to get busier, at least for me. So we are taking a little break in August and just try to survive the hot weather.
Indeed, we are being lazy bitches and not bothering recording a thing in August, but we will return in September with a topic we aren't ready to reveal yet. Yes, you've guessed it. We don't know what we're going to do yet in September.
We are mulling over some options. There is a special whiskey coming out in September, and I've lined up something, but I'm not sure if we can get the sample sorted for September episode. It might be October, but we'll see, but we will come back in September with some goodies.
Wishing you some summer love in Inka. Have a good one and see you on the other side.
Yeah, don't melt away. See you in September.
May your glass be full
and your dram on fire.